Go.
Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Getting Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined by the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso, on the evening of WrestleMania Night 2. What's up, Vito?
How's everybody out there? It's the BIGV from the LOG coming to you live, baby, live. Wrestle Night 2. And happy to be here. Didn't we take off last week, Virtue? Didn't we?
It was Easter. Yeah.
It was Easter. We took off, Virtue had an Easter egg hunt with a bunch of very beautiful ladies, so I gave him the night off. So it was a definitely interesting evening. And Virtue gave me all the dirty little egg details. Those ladies, boy, I got to invite them over for a party. This sounded like fun.
How do you think Aaron Riff's Easter egg hunt went with Caitlin over on No DQ headquarters?
Oh, my God. With the cats? Come on, little kitties. Let's go find some eggies. Man, I'm telling you. Aaron Riff changes the format, opens a new website, moves 1,000 miles away in love, walking his kitties. Caitlin is now the new president of No GQ. She's actually holding board meetings. And, I heard she was on a conference call with Vince McMahon to discuss the delays and everything,
Yeah.
And just, imposing her power, and the will. Because, someone is whipped. I just don't know.
Would you compare them to Stephanie and Triple H?
Not even close, because Triple
I
H
mean,
is a puppet.
Okay, gotcha.
Is a puppet, but Aaron just takes it to a different. Hi, we're walking nature. Hi, we're walking the cats. Hi, I have to be in bed by 12 and I can't finish my no DQ duties, and that's a whole different ball of wax in itself, my man. I'm telling you.
So before WrestleMania, did you catch it last night, night one?
I got all the highlights. Go ahead. I didn't waste my time watching.
Before we talk about WrestleMania or whatever, however you want to call it, because there was the first ever rain delay in WrestleMania history. We have some other topics to get through real quick. So let's go over and get the AEW stuff out of the way. So I don't know if we've done a show since this has been announced, you and I. Chris Jericho is going to be on Steve Austin's Broken Skull Session podcast, which airs on the WWE Network. Now, Chris Jericho is one of the main eventers of AEW, and the fact that this went through Vince McMahon, who is allowing an AEW main eventer. Yes, Jericho has a big legacy in WWE, but he's currently employed by, I guess if you want to call him competition. But I don't think they are now. I don't think they are, because guess what? Vince McMahon's allowing this to happen. AEW.
Internet problem, babe. Internet problem. We froze.
Got me back?
Got you back. Okay.
Good. I don't know what happened. So anyway, I want your thoughts here on Chris Jericho being allowed to being on Steve Austin's podcast, which airs on the WWE Network.
Okay. The fact that he was on, Steve Austin's show. Jericho is not some scrub. He's not some, fly-by-night guy. He's got a legacy. He's got a brand, Okay, does everybody have to be with the WWE to be on Steve Austin's podcast? Absolutely not. So when you said it's not competition, it's just Chris Jericho being a guest and talking about whatever they had. I'm sure it was a great interview. Guys, tune in to Steve Austin's show. Listen to what they have to say. I'm sure it'll be a great, great segment. I'm sure it'll be very positive, and, I've seen online that AEW is tearing apart Impact and burying these guys. Now, what's your take on those comments and how they're handling this?
Well, from what I could gather, whatever this partnership is between Impact and AEW, it's really just getting Don Callis on AEW television. I don't think it's doing. I mean, it's not really doing much for AEW because Impact really doesn't have a big drawing fan base that's going to make a difference for AEW's ratings. I think maybe for a few weeks when Kenny Omega was showing up on Impact, it might have spiked their numbers a little bit, but we're talking 100,000, 150,000. I mean, really low just because they don't have that reach. I really don't know what it's doing other than making Don Callis, giving him a payday on AEW. I don't.
Now, I want to ask a question. As far as the other talent being utilized, the Impact talent, has any of the Impact talent besides the good old boys?
That's as far as I know. Those two guys, Gallows and Anderson, have been
That's it, right?
that I know of.
So none of the other talents that Impact has, who they've pushed, have been on the AEW. Am I correct?
Yeah, as far as I know. Now, if anybody else showed up on Impact, I don't watch Impact, so I don't know if that happened. But I think it's been very exclusive to Omega, Don Callis, Gallows, and Anderson.
I just don't see it. It's not moving the needle for me. And this is no disrespect to those guys. It's when you're with the WWE symbol behind you, you have star power. Okay? When you don't have it and you're going by AEW or Impact star power, it doesn't carry as much as the WWE symbol. When you're talking about the AEW, that symbol only goes so far because everybody knows that it's WWE AEW, right?
Yep.
So it's just a shame that you have this and everybody's got to be in competition, but not everybody can work together. I think that what they're doing with Impact is a shame for wrestling because when you try to combine two companies who are on TV, it doesn't work out. And I don't think anybody really benefits because if you're second, why would you go to the third show? And if you're the third show, is it really doing anything if you're not sending your top guy there to the second show?
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
At it. Okay, somebody says it's hardly doing anything for Impact. AEW doesn't put hardly anything out there on their TV. Nobody out of stature on AEW on Impact, which is correct, which is just what we said.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a wash, guys. And if Kenny Omega had that kind of star power, he already would have been in the WWE. He would have made his bones. The fact that he's not drawing, especially as champion, it's a no-win situation right now. I think, me personally, I think it's time for a change.
Well said. Now, regarding my input here on the Jericho on Steve Austin's podcast, I just posted an article a few days ago on NoDQ.com about AEW versus WWE, and there was never a Wednesday Night War. And I explain it in that column. So head on over to NoDQ.com. Look for Virtue's Rage. Vito, guess what happened on Dynamite Wednesday night? Mike Tyson returned. Mike Tyson returned with 1 day notice for hype. And he showed up at the end, and he was remember, originally he was feuding with Jericho. And he kind of did that in WWE as well. Well, now they're boys. They're the boys now because Inner Circle's obviously baby faces, or supposed to be, because the Pinnacle, MJF's group, is the heels. But Tyson came out, ripped his shirt off better this time, was doing his jabs. But the thing is, Tyson, how he kind of took it easy on Roy Jones Jr.? That's kind of like because obviously he knows this is wrestling and he's not really supposed to go out there and hurt the guy. But it's something just wasn't right about it. Like when you see Tyson, you see him really want to hit somebody. He had a little bit of intensity, but I don't know if this worked for me. What did you think about this? You got that better eye of actually work than I do. I want to know.
Guys, I got to tell you, when you come from now, here's my thing. When you come from a side entrance instead of the main road, when the main walkway, that takes away from your entrance. Because if you have to walk out with your Titantron going on, okay, and you're coming from the side, aren't you supposed to get the beginning and get the whole show with the lights flashing on you in the middle?
Yep.
So you miss it, right? When you have to come this way, turn, it just takes away from your entrance. That's just for starters. If it was Vito LaGrasso, Big Vito, getting in there, and I'd say, hey, you're wasting Mike Tyson. People want to see actual punches. There is a way to do it. I've done it in Japan with some shoot fighters, but nobody seems to have figured it out. Now, when you tell Tyson to come down, rip his shirt off, I don't think he should be ripping his shirt off. He's trying to get that Hulk Hogan effect, which has no pop. That's Mike Tyson. You don't need to rip his shirt off. That's for starters.
Good point.
Okay? When you come in the ring and there's not a bunch of guys there, right? And you got one guy in a corner and you have 5 guys outside and not one of them jumps in to help their boy, makes you look weak. It's one guy, right? Even though it's Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But if one of those guys would have stepped to the middle and say, okay, I'm going to take on Tyson, now you got the guys on the outside cheering him on. The guy inside the ring who's the wrestler rips his shirt off, throws it down, gets in boxing mode, okay? It could be a 2 or 3 punch combination, bing, 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 and down he goes. That's what you're supposed to do, people. Showcase what it is. You don't take it to a corner where only a corner of the people could see it. You want to see it in the center of the ring. All work goes in the center of the ring. If it was me and I was in that spot, I would want to go toe-to-toe with Tyson if you're getting your head handed to you, right? Yep. Even though it's a work. Who better to take you out than Mike Tyson? Because the fact that you stepped in there with him, that sets you up for other things as a tough guy, right? So that demolished it. And then one of the guys from outside threw a punch at Tyson, which he didn't sell. After, when the Jericho's boys came in, Tyson didn't know what the fuck to do. He jumped around. It looked amateurish. Instead of knocking the guy out and Tyson just standing there saying, all right, come on, and then having Jericho's boys come behind him, right, to fight off the other guys, that would have been done.
Which I don't put that on Tyson. I mean, the wrestlers and Tony Khan and the people in charge there, they're supposed to know how to run wrestling. They should have protected Tyson.
Sometimes you go, it kills me when you have the minds and you have a guy who is not as experienced and he's running the show and he says, this is the way I want it because he's paying the bills. But then you try to say, hey, but do it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you never did it, how do you know? If you never got in there, if you never lived an angle, you never participated in a rivalry, if you never got in the ring, you can't write TV unless you lived it, guys. And it's just basic 101 knowledge and psychology on how to do it. You buried Tyson. That's the second time you buried him on your show.
Well, and as Mr. MV 1973 said in the chat, several months ago, Tyson and Jericho were going at it. There was no explanation on why they're buddies now. And it's loose holes like that. We just like to be explained. Like one backstage segment could have fixed that, or a pre-tape. I don't know.
No, you're right. And you know what? Everybody criticized Vince Russo for his writing, but there was always a pre-tape and an explanation before something happened.
Yes.
Right? So if you always follow that formula, guys, you're never going to go wrong. And I can't explain it or say it any better than that. But when you have this going on, guys, and it's just bland, and you just having, I'm not saying I know everything, but if you're going to have your main guys come walking down the aisle, at least open up the center so they can walk down the aisle from the gorilla position. because it takes away from that entrance, and for them to stand there for the people to see worldwide, I am here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that's my take on the Tyson thing.
Now, did you catch the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony? So obviously they didn't have it last year. WWE compacted 2020 and the 2021 class, and they put it on Peacock on the WWE Network. Both they did them separately, but they ran it together like one show. The whole thing for the two classes, Vito, ran about 3 hours, about 90 minutes apiece. Now, some people, it was obviously in the Thunderdome. They didn't have an audience, so they were talking to the camera in the Thunderdome screens. The
Right.
ovations and stuff were all obviously edited in by Kevin Dunn. So it was very produced. But the part that I did like it about it is sometimes those fans in attendance when they are there for these events, they get
Right.
restless. And when the lesser known people that are inducted, like a Hillbilly Jim, start ranting or, just raving about their past, there's an audience for that, but some people don't like that, and you hear the crickets and the boos. So I think this format protected them. It got everybody in there. But what I don't understand, Vito, some people, like the Bella twins, felt scripted, like they were reading a teleprompter. RVD felt genuine. What's your thoughts on the Hall of Fame ceremony? They really had no choice but to do it that way. Batista bowed out. He'll be in a future class for real fans. What is your take here? I don't know if you caught any of that.
The Bella. Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Good insight. Okay. The Bella twins being inducted. Hey, congratulations, girls. You worked hard. You did your thing. You did a lot of good things in wrestling, you know. But in their presentation, sometimes the people in the back think you're going to get too emotional and they want to control it. So, and the Bella twins like to present themselves as professionals. So maybe it was a little scripted, okay? RVD, he really don't give a flying F.
Yeah, I enjoyed his speech because you felt that it was genuine.
Right. So they let him speak and do what he had to do. So on some things, they let you be, and some people, they try to protect so it doesn't get overdrawn. The one guy who got cut off, Mr. T, I believe, when Kane came out.
Back
You
then,
know,
yeah.
right, and he got over emotional, and I think that is the scenario they worry about
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what's going to come out of his mouth, and you just don't know. So let's just put it as okay, scripted, yes. Now you had a bunch of other people inducted. Who was inducted on the first night, if you could remember?
Well, we had, let's see, they put the NWO were the headliners the first night from 2020. Who else did we have?
Now,
JBL was the opener.
okay, hold on. As far as the NWO, I already predicted on the last show that it was going to be the same guys, Hall and Nash and Hogan, going in because they don't have anybody else to put in. So that was a blah. You already knew that was happening. Then you had JBL going in there. You know, the thing with JBL, is he an accomplished wrestler? Was he world champion? Did he do some things?
He did, yeah, as a
Yeah.
heel.
The backstage stuff for him being a bully and him pushing people around, and then he tries to come off as something different, but the boys and everybody remember what it was. So it kind of looks kind of like, they needed to fill some spots. Not to say he doesn't deserve it. Of course he deserves it. But I just felt like, and the fact that he's educated and well spoken, that made it all the more better.
They put Davy Boy in finally. His wife was
Which
there, his children. So I thought that was great.
what that was long overdue and that was well deserved, and he should have been in a long time ago. And I'm happy for the Smith family. Congratulations. Who else you got?
We have Titus O'Neil received the Warrior Award.
He
William
deserved it.
Shatner was
He
the
deserved.
celebrity.
Titus O'Neil does a lot of great things for the community. wrestling, helping people and doing anything. Job well done. Go ahead.
Jushin Thunder Liger.
No, didn't do anything in the WWE.
Okay. Bischoff was 2021.
Eric Bischoff, he had his heyday, with the WCW. He did have his runs in the WWE. The guy put in his time, and he did make some significant contributions to wrestling. Congratulations to Eric. He did a fine job. And I know everybody who's put in charge gets a lot of guff, and they take the heat. But when you recognize that they did have some contributions to wrestling, you say, okay, Eric Bischoff, congratulations. Job well done. Go ahead.
So the celebrities were Ozzy Osbourne and William Shatner. They got to have their celebrity wing. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts on those two.
No. Congratulations. Go ahead.
What about this? They always have what they call the legacy recipients, and they never really put them in the spotlight. Dr. Death Steve Williams.
Dr. Death Steve Williams was a great wrestler. I wrestled against him. I wrestled with him. Very knowledgeable. Didn't have the greatest of WWE runs. Everybody knows he got knocked out. But when you talk about wrestling, that guy was a bad mofo in his heyday. That was the guy who when he was on, he was on. So, should he have been more prioritized? Yeah, probably better than Justin Dunn and Thunder Liger. But who else got the Legacy Award?
Well, let's see here. So, Ray Stevens, Brickhouse Brown. I'll name them all, and then if you want to comment on any of them. Baron Michelle Leone, Gary Hart, and there's a few more here because remember they did 2 years, Vito.
Right.
Dick the Bruiser, Pistol Pez Watley, Buzz Sawyer, Ethel Johnson, and Paul Botch, however you say his name. Those were the legacy additions from the last 2 years.
Holy shit! I have a chance to go in there. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then, of course, the other people we did not talk about from 2021, if you want to mention anything about them, Kane, the Great Khali, and Molly Holly.
Molly Holly, definitely. There's a girl, I met her in WCW at the power plant when she first started. And she's well-deserved. I mean, she put her time in. She did a great job. Congratulations. Kane obviously had a stellar career.
Yeah.
And, what I mean? The one in question is, the Great Khali.
Larger than life, though, and Vince McMahon, and he was a world champion, and Vince McMahon chooses these people.
You know what? You can't shit on anybody who made the Hall of Fame. You can't shit on anybody who made world champion. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and judge people. You just say, wow. And then you look and then you say, you know what? The guy did his thing. Congratulations to those three. Now, was there did you give me all the legacy people?
Yeah, I mentioned them all. I don't know if I pronounced some of their names right, so I apologize. But
Pistol Pez Watley was a good wrestler. Buzz Sawyer was a tough son of a bitch.
Yes.
Crippler Ray Stevens, everybody knows about his legacy.
You know much about Dick the Bruiser?
Dick the Bruiser, very limited. You know what I mean? Very limited. You know what I mean? I think that there are definitely some people who are deserving to get in there. And I would just name Demolition.
Luna Vachon, like in the chat. Yeah.
No, I was going to say Luna, but Demolition.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and guys, they're not in there because of a concussion lawsuit. And those two guys, Bill Eadie and his partner, when it came time for, when it came time for that, guys, they were in there. They should be in. There's no question about it. Just like Davey Boy Smith should have been in there years ago.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And I feel that Owen got in through Davey Boy, because Martha Hart will never allow that to happen for her reasons, right? Okay, whatever. So I feel that Owen got his recognition through Davey Boy in just a fan way, I guess. So that was the Hall of Fame. WrestleMania Night 1.
I see that everybody's saying, the Barry Horowitz thing. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it again. When you beg to get into a Hall of Fame, you already take out your credibility and you're begging. Okay? I have nothing. I said it in the thing. Jim Powers was a guy who did so much in wrestling. Okay? Iron Mike Sharp, another guy who did so much in wrestling. And those two guys actually had legit pushes. Iron Mike Sharp, if people don't remember, in the 70s, he came up as a main event guy. He was a shitbag. Jim Powers was, in a couple of different great tag teams. And they used him as, a top, one of their baby faces. Was on all the house shows back in the 90s. So he wasn't a shitbag. There are guys who are deserving. But guys, when you post yourself and you say, hey, I deserve it, vote for me, guys, you're a jock sniffing son of a bitch. I have nothing else to say. Congratulations to all the people who made it at the Hall of Fame. Go ahead.
WrestleMania Night 1, Vito. Here we go. The opening match.
Right.
Bobby Lashley defended successfully the WWE title against Drew McIntyre. What was your thoughts there?
Well, before we even go there,
okay,
the opening of the show.
That's right. We were on a rain delay. I forgot to mention that, but you're right.
The hoping and praying for a rain delay to bypass and everybody coming out, everybody trying to entertain the people, evacuating the stadium. Was it safe for them to do WrestleMania Night 1?
Well, I mean, it's like a baseball game, right? When a storm comes through, they usually just have the delay. If there's lightning, they tell the people to go inside the part instead of being outside, but they resume it. So under sports, rules, they didn't necessarily do anything wrong, I don't think. However, in this environment, wrestlers, based on their agility, I mean, we had Mandy Rose slipping on the entrance. I don't know how wet the ring could have got, because they usually have that little thing over the ring, but it could have became dangerous.
No, if you ever, guys, I could tell you, wrestling in the rain or wrestling with a wet canvas can be very dangerous. You could actually break your neck, break your ankle, twist something. Mandy Rose slipping on the runway. God forbid she would have cracked her head open when she would have fell. What then?
Yep.
Lightning striking on the cage. Just the fact that tonight they have tremendous storms. I'm in Florida right now.
Yes, you're very close.
Storming all day. Enough so that if my producer can put a picture of our tree that blew out of the ground in front of my house, no lie, that's how strong it was. That is how strong it was.
I've been following that radar down there, Vito, and you got a lot of color on that radar. Getting color
on it. I'm telling you. Now, Bobby Lashley.
Yes, he retained. I thought that they were going to have Drew be the opening match, opening entrance, and he won his title back. They're serious about Bobby Lashley now, obviously.
Drew McIntyre, they exposed him. I said he was going to be a transition champion. I did not believe he did not have the it factor. Once they tried to turn him babyface, that was it. The guy did as good a job as you could possibly do in the circumstance he was given, but they exposed him. If he would have stayed as a badass heel with those kicks, right? Sky was the limit. But because they were in a jam, that derails his push and derailed his career. Just like Jinder Mahal, when they gave him the run, when he finally got it, they took it away. So that's 2 for 2. So
yeah, and they were both in that group, remember? The 3-man band with Heath Slater.
Yeah, guys, I think Bobby Lashley keeping it right now with the possibility of having Brock Lesnar coming back because they need it. I think that's a match that everybody wants to see. Hopefully it happens, But good luck to Bobby Lashley. I hope he has a long title reign. Now, did they put the Hurt Club back together?
No, they're still broken up, and that might have happened since we did a Getting Color. So it's just MVP and Bobby Lashley. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. Now, Vito, this opens up the door for possibly Lesnar versus Lashley.
Yep. Guys, I think that's where they want to go. What's after WrestleMania? We're talking Survivor Series?
Well, the next big one is SummerSlam, and they have several little ones, including a Money in the Bank pay-per-view in between. But SummerSlam's the big one.
Yeah, if he comes back at Money in the Bank, wins the briefcase, challenges him right off the bat, then I think we're going to get it. Hopefully, people will get what they want, and they do what they got to do. What was the next match on the card?
So we're going to go right through these. Some of these you might just be brief about, but the next one was the tag team turmoil match for the ladies to determine the number one contender. Ultimately, Natty and Tamina won this gauntlet type match, if you will. Any thoughts there?
Congratulations to Tamina. I think that was her first title, if I'm not mistaken.
They didn't win the titles. Tonight, they're going to face Shayna and Nia for the title. So last night was to get the opportunity.
So now this is her second title match because she had a World Heavyweight title match for the Women's Championship. This is her second one. I know I'm being particular here, but this would be a good way for her to get a title because you could see the window closing on her career. Not to say that it's over, but you only have so many opportunities to do something, and Natty has been stale. So if they put those two together, I think it could be good. And from what I understand, they didn't look half bad as a tag team.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I actually thought they were going to go the easy route, Naomi and Lana, or somebody to get their pop and do some dancing. They went with the wrestlers. So this is going to be intriguing to watch this tag team match tonight.
Right.
So, all right, the next match was the internet wrestling community's dream match. It only went 11 minutes and 35 seconds, but it was fast-paced from the beginning. So, Vito, as you know, as a wrestler, sometimes that feels like an eternity. Cesaro and Rollins, they did bring the house down. I thought it was a pretty damn good match. Cesaro went over. Any thoughts?
Cesaro's time is now. If they're not going to push him now, they're never going to push him. He has a WrestleMania win. My thinking is he's going to feud with Bobby Lashley coming up. That's my view.
Interesting. And some people say keep the title on Roman Reigns and have Cesaro versus Roman Reigns. We'll find out what happens with that saga. Roman, Daniel Bryan, and Edge after tonight. Okay, AJ Styles and Omos, the large man, like 8-footer, they defeated the New Day to become the new Raw Tag Team Champions. And I believe that makes AJ another Grand Slam champion.
Well, I think this is what they did, if I'm not mistaken, with Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, where they became tag team champions.
Yes.
And if this big man is anything, he could be the dark horse new world champion of the WWE.
Dude, he's huge. And he did not look that bad last night. I mean, you know what I mean? To me, it was infinitely better than what Great Khali used to do. And they pushed him to the top.
Guys, when you're a bodyguard, I'll say it. When you're a bodyguard when I was a bodyguard for Nunzio, right? You have your one or two things you're going to do, and that's it, because you don't want to take away from the wrestlers. This guy is 7 feet tall, just like Nash was 7 feet tall, right? You do your business, and when it's time for you to get that push and break away, being that he's that big, he's going to have a significant part or a significant role in the WWE, because anybody that big is destined to be a world champion.
Got that look, man. Definitely. Yeah. Now, this one surprised me. It was a little better than I thought. Braun Strowman defeated Shane McMahon in the cage. Right. Shane got his spot, right? He got thrown off the top of the cage and did a flat back bump in the middle of the ring. Safer than a lot of his other stuff, but he's 50-some years old. I'm sure he's feeling that today. What was your thoughts? here. Shane McMahon had to get another highlight.
Guys, anytime Shane McMahon is in a WrestleMania, it's going to draw. Everybody looks to see what he's going to do next as far as a big bump. I actually thought he was going to go from the top of the cage outside the ring.
Yeah, again, like onto the table or something like that.
Yeah, into the table because Braun Strowman was doing it. But because it was just a flat bump in the ring. That's still a long ways to go take a bump, guys.
Yeah, and they did where they panned back and they showed it in one motion. It was a cool spot. It was good.
But the thing is, guys, if you don't hit the right spot on that mat and you hit more towards the apron or the getting in part, you're going to feel that for days, I'm telling you, at that speed and at that height. So, congratulations, Braun Strowman.
Yes, right. So Strowman, and he won last year at WrestleMania when he beat Goldberg. 15 minutes and 5 seconds. This match should have went 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Bad Bunny. Now, look, I want to hear your piece here. I'm not saying the guy looked bad, but he's my size. It's like me going in there trying to work a match. Miz and Morrison did a fantastic job covering up for this celebrity. So I see people praising Bad Bunny. Okay, I get it. Star power for the people that like him, his entrance, coming in on the semi, whatever. I get it. The guy looked like me going in there trying to compete against two wrestlers, and it's just that's where it rubbed me wrong. Miz and Morrison, give them the Barry Horowitz pat on the back because he doesn't deserve to do that. Those guys should do it to themselves because they covered this boy up. And Damian Priest was in this match too. What is your take here, Vito, on Bad Bunny? I am interested to hear this.
When you practice one match over and over and over and over again, there's very little room for error. And if you do forget something, the veterans in the ring will cover it up. Both of those guys are ring veterans. Both of those guys are very good wrestlers. Kudos to the job they did to carry this and make it look respectable.
They did a Canadian Destroyer, which, just so everybody knows, that's the guy that takes the move that really executes that move. So that was all John Morrison. And you got to figure doing that flip, he's got a 135-pound Bad Bunny. Of course it's going to look good because John Morrison's a pro's pro. But I don't know. I see too much praise for this celebrity. And I don't just – and maybe I'm just been behind the curtain too much, Vito. And I think the boys are the ones that need the praise. They're the ones that did the work. That's just me.
You got to remember something, right? When you see this kind of stuff, does it irritate wrestlers when these guys walk in, they do a few moves and walk away when you're actually the one practicing your craft and learning the game and doing all this stuff? They come in, they make a $500,000 payday, they go home. You're wrestling for how many years, and maybe your total earnings meet $500,000.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of a slap in the face, but that's just the wrestling business. So did this guy do any draw power? Did his merchandise top anybody else's? Did he sell anything? Was the buy rate?
The merch sold. The merch sold. The ratings weren't any different, but the merch sold. So from that aspect, they brought him in, and Bad Bunny sold his merchandise probably to his fans, but that's